Good evening. Hope everybody is doing well. I always need a booster seat, Leo. Man, I caught something. I think it was Southern Pepper One on his boots on the ground earlier. I believe that is where I heard this from, but saying something to the effect of somebody suspects that they were infected and contagious with measles at the Asbury University during the large revival that had gone on there. And in listening to the report, it sounded more like they were trying to fearmonger the hell out of the idea, like they were trying to scare people from the thought of maybe gathering en masse at one of these events. I thought it was awful interesting the way they approached it. I don't know. I come from a time period where we didn't freak out about measles and chicken pox and stuff like that. So I don't know. But so there was a warning, I guess, put out to all those people that attended to, of course, monitor their own personal health and obviously to seek medical help if something should arise. But I just thought that was awful interesting, and it was the way. And again, I believe it was Southern Pepper One that I watched that was reporting on that. So that was him speaking. So I haven't actually read like the actual article or seen anything directly on it. So, but the way he made it kind of sound like that's what they were doing. Like they were pretty much trying to spread fear. Maybe even try to prevent people from attending events like that. So. That's kind of what I gathered from it. Other than that, as far as across the spectrum of news, it's just been the continuing slow escalation with China and Russia, of course. I'm starting to see more push for war with China, actually. A lot of this stuff changes, it seems, so rapidly. It wasn't that long ago, if you were to ask me if I thought we were more likely to go into conflict with Russia or China, as in like which one first, I should say, I would have said Russia. But at this particular moment in time, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think all of it's a bad answer, but... I don't know, that seems to be the direction they are marching us, and I don't think it's going to turn out so hot. So that's been going on. I'm trying to think if there was other stuff. I've got some tabs open. I'm trying to count. I think I see 8 up there. Got some tabs open just from today's stuff. And then we'll kind of go from there. I hope I remember tomorrow morning first thing to check my RT extension, because this morning I got up, and it wasn't too long after I got up that I looked to see what kind of number was on it and noticed that the extension wasn't there. So I went into the extensions and I re-enabled it because Google disables it on their own. And the number 37 popped up. So I don't know at what time last night that extension quit working, but some point last night. I don't think, though, there were too many headlines that I didn't get last night that I turned around and got this morning. So all the headlines were got out. It just, there might have been 2 or 3 or so that would have normally went out last night that I missed. I wish Chrome would, or Google, I wish they would stop shutting that extension off. But they do. I battled it for a while before I redid my operating system, and after a certain point, it didn't disable anymore. It just stayed enabled, never had a problem with it again. And then I redid Windows and, of course, reinstalled Chrome and everything else. And it's like now I'm starting that all over again. I don't know if that's what it is they'll let you battle it for so long and then they quit. So I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But anyway, let me have a sip of coffee. Kind of got some, I don't know, weird stuff in the news. I haven't read the article. A lot of times I don't read these articles before I put them up. Some of them I do. Probably more than not, I don't. And the reason why is because my whole point of what I do is off the cuff. I don't want to come here with anything prepared or, obviously there's some stories that I keep track on as they are developing, and those are a little different story. But for the most part, I try to have pretty much a raw approach when I cover it. Let's see. Ipira browser. Yeah, do they? Yeah, but is there like RT extensions and stuff? I really, to be honest, not interested in changing browsers. I mean, that is the only thing that I have an issue with using the Google Chrome browser. That is like it. Other than that, it crosses all my T's and checks everything off the list of what I need. It's incredible, especially when you do stuff like this. All the different tools that Chrome has within it to be able to assist. So it's like when and I know you can do this with a lot of browsers, but like when I open up Chrome, I have a certain set of windows that pops open. I don't have to worry about logging into anything. It's just real nice. That's the only thing I have. That's the only problem I have is Google, along with many other companies, had started doing whatever they could to discourage people from reading any Russian media or anything like that. So I think it's crazy. One of the things that's, I don't know if it's in the news that I had brought up, probably not. But all the stuff that's going on over in Ukraine with Zelensky, how he bans his opposition and stuff like that. And, if we really let that be known to the general public, people would start asking a lot of questions, right? And I think that the United States is actually walking in the same direction. Man, I'll tell you what, it's insane. But there was one of them, what was it? It's in the headlines. Oh yeah, it was something to do with eliminating opposition. I can't remember what it is. I don't have it up, obviously. But, oh man. Oh, I'm talking about with the extension. I've got an extension for Chrome extension for RT, and what it does is anytime that there's like the more important headlines, the breaking, well, not just the breaking news, but the more important headlines, they will push it to that extension, and it will give me a little number on the little RT tab. It'll give me a number, like if there's 5 articles there or however many, and then it lets me know. That's my cue to click on it and push news out. So that's what I use it. That's primarily what I use it for. Makes it real handy. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, I figured they might. Opera's a pretty popular browser. Let's see. And they probably haven't gone and done all that crazy stuff. I'll tell you what, Google and Mozilla both have really towed the U.S. government's line. It's pretty unreal. Okay, I've got 8 tabs open. They're bouncing around a little bit as far as subject and stuff. And then, of course, we'll do all the headlines from Friday. Gotta get used to this still. Okay, China doubled down on Taiwan reunification. Beijing maintains that Taiwan is a part of China's territory and will continue working towards reunification with the self-governed island through peaceful means. Chinese Premier Li, I don't know if that's Keqiang, has said, we should promote the peaceful development of cross-strait relations and advance the process of China's peaceful reunification, Li said in a report to some 3,000 delegates of the National People's Congress, which kicked off in Beijing on Sunday. The government in Beijing remains committed to the One China principle, which states that Taiwan is part of China, he reiterated. The premier stressed the commitment of the Chinese authorities to take resolute steps to oppose Taiwan independence. So again, it's just more or less more another call to the arms when it comes to this reunification thing. I don't know. You know, if you were to ask me the likelihood of China moving in on Taiwan like sometime in the near future, I have no idea. I really don't. It's probably the ideal time for them to do that. Whether or not they'll seize that opportunity, I don't know. I don't know. I just, you know, I look across at everything, and it's kind of daunting. It's kind of discouraging when you see two superpowers, both right on the edge of direct armed conflict, and then of course the economic woes, and then we've got, you know, over top of all this, I keep it on the top of my mind, supply chain. Because once things escalate and that supply chain gets further disrupted, there is going to be a major, major shift. And so that's why I kind of keep that up at the top of my head. China, for obvious reasons, has announced that they're boosting their defense spending. It says here China's defense spending will rise by 7.2% to $230 billion this year, according to information contained in Beijing's national budget released on Sunday. Premier Li Keqiang also called upon the country's armed forces to boost combat preparedness as they expand their military capabilities amid tensions with Taiwan. 7.2% increase is the sharpest surge in China's defense spending since 2019. It follows a 6.8% uptick in 2021 and 6.6% in 2020. In 2019, Asia's leading military power oversaw a 7.5% increase in its defense budget to 1.19 trillion won, around $172 billion. The latest hike is the 8th consecutive single-digit annual increase in Beijing's military budget. So here's the thing, and I have noted this before, and probably good to note it again. You really can't compare numbers here. You can't compare the United States defense budget with any other country. And the reason why is because our spending, whether it be defense or otherwise, is grossly inflated. Why? Because, well, we've got a government that will allow companies to contract with them and charge them exorbitant amounts of money to do jobs. Because, well, government contract, yo, and that's how it works. I know, I've been there. I did hydraulics work, and we had a military base that brought stuff to us, and I know how their bills looked versus Joe Blow Farmer. And it was night and day. And that was what they wanted. You couldn't go to them with a normal number. They had to have a big number. And knowing that, you realize real quick that we're probably wasting a lot of the money that we spend on defense. China and Russia and Iran and other nations like North Korea, not so much. You know, in the U.S., you might put $1 towards defense and you might get 5 cents to make it, okay, to actual defense. The rest gets squandered one way or another. But I guarantee you in these other nations like China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, I guarantee you these other nations, a lot more of that dollar per dollar goes towards that defense spending that they put out. Guaranteed. They don't have the level of capitalism and greed there that we do. So again, we spend exorbitant amounts of money for defense, not because we have to, but because we're willing. And there are people obviously willing out there to take advantage of that. And again, you can't, I've seen it myself. You can't charge them a normal price. They won't accept it. They won't accept it. I know. I've been there. I've had to write new bills up and the whole 9 yards. So I kind of got to the point where I'm like, you tell me how much it cost you, you know? And that's pretty much the point that it got to. But anyway, I just wanted to say it's not the same. You can't compare dollar for dollar when it comes to U.S. defense spending in other countries because it's not the same. All right, U.S. assessing Ukrainians for possible F-16 training. Okay, they're assessing them. They're assessing them. So let me read a little bit here. The U.S. has invited Ukrainian pilots to a military base in Tucson, Arizona, to establish how long it will take to train them to fly Western fighter jets, including F-16s, unnamed officials told NBC. 2 airmen from Ukraine have arrived on American soil so far, with more likely to follow, the broadcaster reported on Saturday. According to its sources, the U.S. authorities plan to bring as many as 10 Ukrainian aviators to the country this month. So, when you say words like possible, you really mean they are. When you say that you've invited, you really mean they're already here and more are coming. It's really interesting how that's put out. But I think the important part is to just look at this and understand that if they're already at this level of commitment with the F-16s, you better believe that they've got it in the works to start supplying them. You don't train people in something they're not going to fly. And I know they're trying to blow it off and say, you know, fly Western fighter jets. Well, let me tell you something. Those fighter jets, every one of them, are extremely unique in its systems. And, you might be able to bang around the cockpit and figure this out and figure that out. But there's certainly going to be some systems that you won't fully understand unless you've been trained on those systems in that aircraft. So, things like weapon systems are going to be way, way different. Now, that what you're seeing on the screen there, and that was on the thumbnail, that I don't believe that's an F-16 simulator. I'm thinking that might actually be an F-35 simulator, but I can't tell you that for absolute certain. Why? Because, well, that would probably be about the extent that they would allow us to see of the cockpit of the F-35. That information and much data, much information, pictures, video, not so much when it comes to some of these jets, especially like the F-35. I can tell you that panel looks nothing like an F-16 panel. I think it's an F-35. Because if you notice, it doesn't have gun sights of any kind. It doesn't have the HUD of any kind because it's not needed, not with the new systems. And everything's all in the helmet-mounted display and blah, blah, blah. So, I'm pretty sure that's going to be an F-35. But if they're here and they're already training them, or at least 2 of them at this point, you better believe it's coming. So I would imagine probably they've actually taken a long time to make this announcement. In fact, I have to say I was wrong on that. I figured by now they would have long made the announcement by now, but they're dragging this one out. But I would say if they're actually admitting to training the pilots or starting to train the pilots at this point, then I would say within a month they'll probably be announcing. And I'm going to say they're probably going to be going with the F-16s because you wouldn't. This is just a picture. This is not one of the Ukrainians, and that's just a picture. You don't, like I say, you can't just do that. You can't just bring somebody in and train them on one plane and say, okay, this is Western fighter aircraft. You can't do that. Every plane is specific. So if they say F-16, they mean F-16. It's not, that's really not negotiable. So just, keep your eye on that. I think there's going to be announcements for that. I also think that they're probably going to ante up some F-18s. So don't be surprised when that gets announced. F-16s, I'm going to be honest with you. F-16s ain't going to fare well in Ukraine. Not even close. F-16s really can't do real well against the S-300 system, no less the S-400, the S-500, or the S-550. So an F-18, especially your later editions, has a much better electronics package on them. And while they aren't a stealth aircraft by any means, but there is all kinds of other things outside of stealth technology that they utilize to keep themselves safe and to kind of fool the enemy and this, that, and the other thing. And the F-18, especially, of course, like I say, the later variations of it, I don't even know where they're at now, to be real honest with you. It's going to be substantially better equipped for that particular battlefield than what the F-16 will because of those added electronics packages. I don't know. It's not going to go well if they throw F-16s up there. I know it. Wagner Group dude knows it. I mean, everybody knows it. It's not going to go over so well. So I would expect within a month probably to hear some type of an F-16 announcement, and at some point we're going to probably hear F-18s. So I don't see anything else at this time. Of course, F-14s are old news, and there really isn't anything else that I know of. Maybe A-10. I don't know, because I don't even know where the A-10 is right now. See, that's what the F-35 was supposed to replace the A-10, and that went over like a fart in church. So it is not in any way close to an A-10. I don't even know what the hell they were thinking. But anyway, I don't see, because we're kind of like going down. I think that they're going to be making a new variant or something, or they already have, or working on a new variant for the A-10 to bring it a little bit more up to speed with modern times, because the F-35 didn't work out so hot as far as a replacement for it. I don't know, but I don't see them giving them A-10s. And I'm sorry, I know I'm rattling on, but I'm going through and I'm trying to think of anything that they could give them out of our aviation inventory. And we really, as far as stuff ready to go, ready for the battlefield that would be capable, we don't have a lot. The F-16, if flown with good pilots in certain conditions, is still a formidable aircraft. F-35, it's got its purpose. Yes, it's a very needed aircraft there. I said it, but it's still a piece of shit. I mean, but the thing of it is it's electronics package, like I've talked about with the other stuff. It's not so much about the capability of what that plane can do to other planes. It's about the data that plane can collect and share to everyone on the battlefield. And that is what makes that plane so important. Way more so than its actual capability in combat. In my opinion, that's not so hot either. F-22, to me, that's the gem. And yeah, I'm sure I'm going to be a little biased on it anyway. We will never get them F-22s. That will not happen. And that I feel very confident on. I don't think we got enough A-10s, and I don't think that they'd be really up for snuff. They would and they wouldn't. Again, you're going to be battling the anti-air systems that Russia has, which, again, anything 300 on up would be able to take out the A-10. We don't have nothing. F-16. That's it. F-16, F-18. That's really it. So, expect to hear that F-18 get added to that list. And if anything, the hem-hawing on the whole F-16 thing might be because of the fact that they know that they're just throwing good money after bad. EU nation sees bankruptcy surge, says Bloomberg. Not really going to go diving into this article, no need to. I wanted to show that the issue that's happening there, we're seeing continuation on everything. Increases in the inflation, just everything. It's not turning around there. It's not turning around in the UK either. They're seeing child food poverty soar. So that is not a good thing. So this down here goes into saying, according to the findings, 22% of households polled rather either skipping meals or not eating for a whole day last month. In January 2022, the figure stood at only 12%. The overall number of British children suffering from a lack of food has now reached almost 4 million, data showed. Then here it says, alarming trend comes as the country suffers from record high food inflation spurred by soaring energy costs. The indicator now stands at 17.1%, according to the latest figures released by market researcher Kantar earlier this week, with milk, eggs, and margarine showing the fastest price growth. The cost of living crisis is further exacerbated by the government's recent decision to cut back support for household energy bills. Can't see what the thermostat says. I expect that it hasn't finished going up. I think it's going to continue to go up. Not just for the UK. I think it's going to be the US, EU. This is the craziest thing. All of the increased prices, all of the hardships in all these nations, just so the governments can punish Russia, it's insane. I mean, do I think countries should just stand back and never get involved in stuff? No, but I don't know that if it were up to me, I don't know that I would have gotten involved in that. I don't believe I would have. for two reasons. For one, from my understanding, a number of the people there want to be with Russia because, I mean, come on. That leads to reason number two. Have you seen the Ukrainian government? That's insane. That is insane. So for both those reasons, I wouldn't get involved. I actually, looking at it from the outside in, I see Russia doing the world a favor. I'm sorry, but neo-Nazism was wrong in Hitler's day. It's still wrong today. That is what the Ukrainian government is. I don't get it. It makes no sense. We say we're against that, but yet we spent a record amount of money for military aid to a country that we say we're against what they stand for. This is the other thing. This actually might have been it. This might have been the article that I was talking about earlier. I said there was something about that Ukraine was doing that this was it. Rolled out a system to auto-block, quote-unquote, malicious websites. So, of course, they're doing it just websites to protect people. They would never do anything like that to, I don't know, silence opposition or something like that. Never. That's what they're doing. That is exactly what they're doing with this. And if you can get that kind of control, because really, if you think about it, the internet and social media websites like YouTube and Facebook and stuff like that, they really are the last bastion right now of, I dare say it, free speech, even though you know what that is. It's still the kind of the last, it's the place where we are actually successful in getting a message out. And with the loss of that, just imagine that. Just imagine you wake up tomorrow and you can no longer say your opinion on YouTube at all, or Facebook, or any other social media. Not any at all. You could not share your thoughts. That is the type of system that they are aiming for. This is the way they'll achieve it. So they're rolling this out in Ukraine. I'm thinking, I been watching a documentary when I've been going to bed. I think it's called The Age of Tanks or something like that. It's on Netflix. And even then, on that documentary, they were talking about how different, I'm going to say, weapons manufacturers, they often test new stuff on any battlefield available. And that's what they were saying that was going on a lot. I can't remember if it was, I think it was actually both World War I and World War II. But man, there was some really interesting stuff in those videos, including the sheet metal tanks. That was a good one. They actually took sheet metal and they fashioned it to look like a tank, and then they mounted the sheet metal on the sides of a car. And so literally these cars would go driving around, and like from a distance it would look like a tank. And they did that to fool the enemy into thinking that they had all, because they were supposed to have all these tanks ready and all that, to fight with. And for whatever reason, they weren't able to have all those tanks ready and all that. So they kind of more or less made fake tanks, and I caught that, but I really didn't catch how that fared out. I know I caught another part, and I think it was about a different time when something similar was done. But from my understanding, the enemy caught on pretty quick, and that sheet metal didn't do much to help the people that was behind it, so didn't work out so well. Interesting documentary, though. U.S. suspects cranes. I thought this was nuts. U.S. suspects cranes of spying for China. So now we've had, it's been everything, right? We've had the drones, of course. That's why DJI was blacklisted, because they might be spying on everything. Of course, Huawei, they can't even sell their products here. And we've heard about all these different things. Believe it or not, if there was one item in the home, like in my home, that I would be really concerned about having in my home, it would probably be a robot vacuum. That would be one of the last items I think I would want in my home. Because that thing can go through and several times a day map your entire home. That's kind of freaky. But, and you know what? There are some of these devices, I don't know which brands do what, but there are some of these devices that have that technology, that have LiDAR technology built in. I was just watching something, it was a video about VR, about virtual reality, and I was just watching a video where they were talking about how you could shoot your own little virtual reality video. And I guess there's something to where, I guess it's out now. You can do it now. I think it's a little glitchy. But you can actually shoot like your own video and then put on virtual reality headset and be there in 3D in that moment again. And you can record little video clips of doing that. This is the part that blew my mind. They said currently it's only available to work with iOS. Why, you might ask? Because for the app to work, it needs to be able to build a model. Okay? You have to have something to be able to get the data to build that model with. This blows my mind. But apparently, iPhones, I don't know starting with which one, or if it's just the last one or what, but apparently iPhones have LiDAR built in now. Now, I could probably Google that, and it's probably right there, but I never even thought for a second. LiDAR iPhone. LiDAR is one of the iPhone and iPad Pro's coolest tricks. That's insane, folks. If there's a technology to be concerned with, LiDAR is one that you need to keep suspicious of. Just saying. So anyway, this article's talking about worried that the cranes are going to have a Trojan horse built in them. You know, part of this is to, drum up support for war. Part of this is to drum up support for sanctions. Part of this is just predatory business practices. I am positive that's what it was with like DJI. It was just predatory business. It's just sad because we don't have a U.S. drone manufacturer that can really fit the shoes of DJI. We just don't. We have U.S. drone manufacturers, but they are just outrageously expensive. And to be honest, not that great. They're getting there. Don't get me wrong. They're getting there. The Autel makes a nice drone if you're going to pay that kind of money for one. So... But aside from that, I just wish they would quit doing this stuff. I wish they would quit making up boogeymen, because I think this is a made-up boogeyman here. The drone thing was a made-up boogeyman. Again, that information that iPhones have LiDAR built in now was stunning to me on two things. Not only that it would be included in the cell phone, but the other thing is that they have the ability to make that technology that damn small. That is insane. Everything about that's just insane. I'll be digging more into that. Okay. Let me have another sip of coffee, a couple of vapes. This is the last tab I have open. Most Americans believe feds helped incite Capitol Hill, or I don't know where I got Hill from, but Capitol riot, says a poll. So, I read the headline. I'm not going to read deep into the story, and the reason why is because of the ignorant policies here at YouTube. I mean, it's gotten to a point to where we really can't say much of anything anymore. And we have no idea of what we can and can't talk about. It's just gotten insane. It has just gotten insane. I was just looking over because my strike situation that I was on, that strike that I just got off suspension for, that was the second one on my account at that particular time when I got that. I was just double checking because the last one that we got, it expired, the strike expired today. So I did have 2 strikes, of course 3 you're out. And so I was a little bit butt puckered there throughout today, making sure we could get through today. But so I just checked, and it does show now that I'm setting at 1. So thankfully we made it. Hopefully we don't get nailed with another one right away. But I'm telling you, the ones they're going to go after the ones actually telling you the truth. Period. They don't mind the ones out there that's just enabling agendas more. That helps them. They don't like people like us. They need you to choose a box. They need you to choose one side or the other. And people like me are telling you, don't make that choice. Plain and simple. Just don't make that choice. And they don't like that. They don't like that. Because if you're an independent thinker, they can't put you where they need you. Oh, man. Jen's here. She doesn't have her monitor up. Yeah, I would definitely check out as many flight sticks as you can get your hands on. Test them out. See what works for you. I heard that, and it wasn't the X-56 like I was saying earlier. It's the X-52 Pro. I had heard back when I had an X-52, I knew a lot of people that went out and bought the X-52 Pro, and a lot of them didn't like it at all. A lot of them just didn't like the way it was in comparison. Some even said they didn't think it was as good, and there were quite a few people that had problems with it. Now, that was the X-52 Pro. So, the X-56, that's a new animal. I really don't know a whole lot on that one. Again, I had them confused. I had the X-56 confused with the X-52 Pro. My advice, I know from my own personal experience that the standard X-52 is a kick-ass stick. There's only one downside to the X-52. There is a cable that connects your flight stick to your throttle quadrant, and it's a DIN connector on both ends, and that DIN connector will come loose. So you can do one of two things. Either when you set the flight stick up, put something there to help support and hold in place that DIN connector, as well as put a little bit of dielectric grease in the connector before you plug it in. Second thing you can do, obviously, is just hardwire the damn thing in. Just get out the soldering iron and just hardwire the thing in. That is the only thing. That's it. Other than that, the reasons why my X-52s went out was abuse. I can't fault the controller for what I know was abuse. I was playing Battlefield, and I don't know what dawned on me, but for some reason I decided I was going to make my flight stick, the actual joystick, that is what moved my character. Forward, back, left, right. That is how I walked, was my flight stick. And it turned out to be extremely effective because I could walk sideways in a circle, and it was hell for people to shoot me. And I could sit there and pepper them the entire time. Now, no matter how many tricks I had like that, I still sucked. But that's how I tore up my flight sticks. Was literally from walking in battlefields. How I tore up my flight sticks. If I wouldn't have did that, then the only issue that I would have ever had, and I know I had 3 different X-52s, so I know them well. The only issue that I had, aside from abusing the hell out of them, was that plug. So, that's it. Yeah, if you abuse the hell out of them, eventually they don't, like I said, they don't have potentiometers for your movement, for your axes and stuff. They don't have potentiometers. They use what they call Hall sensors, and it's basically a magnet with a sensor. So, and it's very precise. It's very, as long as it's working right, it's extremely precise and smooth, and it's awesome stuff. But anyway, back to the article. I'm sure we pretty much all were in that boat anyway, so I think we pretty much all knew what was up with that. That's another one of those things I don't know if the truth will ever come out about, and if justice will ever actually be had in that. So, let's see. Fun times. Alright. Starting off with the headlines I shared Friday. Make sure I didn't accidentally change something. I gotta be careful. This tablet's a lot bigger, and if I put my hand over there by it, I hit buttons and stuff. But for some reason, I don't know if my phone got slower, or if the app for the lights that we have, I don't know if it's gotten buggy, or if my phone is just that immensely slower. And I don't know. It really could be a toss-up, because that phone's acting really slow. But anyway, that's why I use the tablet now, because it's still more snappy than that. Alright, top U.S. general attends Ukraine war planning drills. Recession coming to major Western economies, says Fitch. Australia vows to protect U.S. nuclear crown jewels. China dominates global tech race, says a report. Oil giant sued over nooses. U.S. city mayor arrested in child porn case. Hate crimes against Russians rising in the U.K., says Sky News. EU Commission tightens hospitality rules. EU extends deadline for retrieving blocked Russian assets. Lavrov issues pipeline warning to the West. Blinken lied about exchange with Lavrov. said Moscow. You know, and that happens, if I'm not mistaken, that happens like every single time that any meeting is had. Usually the U.S. will come out and say one thing about it, and then, we find out from the other countries that it went down totally different. Key Donbass city surrounded, says Wagner chief. Bomb explodes in Montenegro courthouse. EU nation failing on promise to Ukrainian refugees, says media. Russia's FSB shows aftermath of Ukrainian terrorist attack. EU gas prices drop to 18-month low. EU top diplomat comments on Russia's G20 membership. Russian nuclear plant guards came under fire, says an official. Russian boy praised for saving 2 minors in Ukrainian attack. Worst ever economic crash coming, says Nouriel Roubini. And I'm worried he might be correct. Switzerland reveals Germany's tank deal proposal. Nobel Prize winner sentenced to 10 years. Biden's former disinformation czar pleads for donations. EU accused of waging food war. Russia has adapted to sanctions, says finance minister to RT. U.S. hosts war games for Ukrainian commanders. RT meets Wagner fighters encircling key Donbass city. Apple ends warranty service for devices in Russia, says reports. U.S. gun owners slam tracking plan. Pentagon Papers leaker reveals cancer diagnosis. Americans arrested for allegedly helping Russia. RTDE accounts frozen, their German accounts. Failed European space launch blamed on faulty Ukrainian-made part. U.S. Museum reverses course on Russian artist Ukrainianization. Pentagon orders fix for all F-35s globally. Apparently, I don't know. This is what I don't understand. So, apparently there's an engine vibration problem. Okay, fair enough. The engine vibration problem, they claim, is what led to the crash of the F-35B variant that there is video going around about for a while, that was hovering just above the ground a little bit, and you saw it, I can't remember the entire video, but I know you saw it come down on its nose wheel first, and I can't remember what all it did, but I remember it came down on its nose wheel first, and it just looked real screwed up. That is what they are saying happened as a result of this engine vibration. Here's my question. Only the B variant of the F-35 has the capability to do vertical takeoff and landing. So they're saying that this part that I guess allows for extra engine vibration is what allowed for that disaster to happen. So the part I don't understand is it's a totally different setup, okay, from top to bottom. They look the same a lot, or close to the same on the outside. On the inside, those are 2 totally different aircrafts. If you take, say, like an F-35A or an F-35C versus a B, 2 totally different things. I'm not real sure I think the A variant can do short takeoff and landings, but it can't do vertical takeoff and landings, if I'm not mistaken. On the C variant, I don't think it can even do STOL. I don't think it can do the short takeoff and landings. I think it's just full out a regular plane. However, it's got a tail hook and a launch bar and all that, so they can be operated from an aircraft carrier. Yes, the B is the one that's used on the aircraft carriers a lot of the times. Even though that the C is designed for that, again, the C doesn't have the capability to do the, I don't believe it can even do the short takeoff and landing. I think it's just a full-blown plane with carrier capability. The B, it's pretty much there all around. The B can pretty much fulfill any one of the roles as the A or the C. Almost. Not quite, but almost. The A can actually, is it the A? No, I guess it's the C. I think it's the C actually is the one that's the most maneuverable. And I think the A is a little more maneuverable than the B. So, and none of them can steer. So, that's my issue with them. Okay, let's see. Contents of latest Ukraine weapons package revealed. U.S. military eases tattoo rules to boost recruiting. Another sign that we're probably on a road for conscription at some point for draft. Because they're relaxing about any and every rule they can. I kind of shared out as a joke something about the military bringing in elderly people. And I guess they're doing it. I'm sure they're not putting them on the front lines, but that's all kind of scary stuff. The whole situation makes me uneasy. Let's see. Trump and January 6 prisoners collaborate on song. Serbia denies supplying weapons to Ukraine. Wealthy U.S. lawyer gets double life for killing wife and son. Top U.S. prosecutor makes surprise Ukraine visit. Biden has cancerous tissue removed. Payouts to Havana syndrome victims to continue indefinitely. And the reason why that's news is because they've had an investigation into this Havana syndrome for quite some time. And from what I gathered, they pretty much closed up this investigation without having a damn clue of what caused it. What they have said is that other countries, Cuba, Russia, China, aren't responsible for it. So that's really got me curious as to what's going on. It's definitely a thing. It's not something that these people just made up or something. No, it's definitely a thing. And I'm at a loss. I mean, I still think the biggest suspect's probably our own government, but U.S. defies North Korea's threats, and Biden praises Scholes for diversifying away from Russian energy. Okay, now we are to yesterday's stuff. Have a sip of coffee. Oh, man. What was that? What was it? Was it your glasses? Yeah? Hang on 1 second. Sorry about that. Jen dropped her glasses, so they were kind of a pain to get to. Hang on, let me catch my breath back. All right, okay. Now to yesterday. Beijing calls U.S. world's primary nuclear threat. WHO wants proof to support U.S. claims of COVID origin. Hang on. Oh, I guess it's in back. Okay, should be good. I don't know if I said that one or not. WHO, where was I? WHO wants proof to support U.S. claims of COVID origin. Yeah, I did read that. China announces massive oil and gas discovery. EU must shift to wartime economy, says industry commissioner. Britain's warned over energy bills. Oh, I missed that one because I would have put that one up as well. Russian business... Oh, this was yesterday. Never mind. That's why I didn't put it up. Russian business confidence source, says S&P Global. Russian diplomats mock U.S. official over geography fail. EU should get ready for stagflation, says U.S. economist. Russian defense minister inspects troops amid fight for key Donbass city. West likely covering up Nord Stream probe findings, says French general. EU offers Russian banks alternatives to SWIFT, says media. Kiev approved deadly raid into Russia. Says a neo-Nazi behind attack. U.S. ally resumes imports of Russian oil, says data. U.S. to ban investment in Chinese high-tech, says Wall Street Journal. Oh, actually, we are to today's news. That started out this morning. Oops. Like I said, 2 or 3 of these might have belonged on last night's. I don't know. I know I still see the extension up there now, so. Let's see. Again, today's news. Let's see. Russia accuses UK of stalling poisoning probe. Yeah, okay, I did read that right. West created Nazi paradise in Ukraine to fight Russians, says Dugan, I believe. Irish grandmother jailed for calling Ukrainians rapists and criminals. Let's see. Ex-Russian president warns against German tank plant plan for Ukraine. Ukraine issue paralyzing the G20, says Mexico. That's kind of one of the nations, too, one of the countries that I've been a little worried about as far as to what side that they would fall on. Because we all know that Mexico is and has been corrupt for, I don't know. And I have a feeling that they would jump at the chance to accept an offer from, the highest bidder, just because that's how they do business in Mexico. And so that's what's concerning to me. That's our back door. And I don't think it would take too much. I don't think it would take too much sweetening of the pot to maybe allow them to open their doors up. And that wouldn't be a good situation. I know it's crazy. I know I listen to Monkey Works, and he is convinced that everything that the good book talks about is going to happen. I think he's pretty far off on his assessment. I think we need to be concerned here about what that's referring to, about coming down from the north and up from the south. I have a feeling this is where we need to be concerned about that. So anyway, U.S. state proposes $360,000 per person in slavery reparations. Germany to purge Nazi words from law books. Most Americans believe feds helped incite... Oh, actually, I read that one. UK Baby Drag Act cancels shows blaming trolls, says the media. Ex-U.S. soldier sentenced to 45 years for terrorist plot. American leaders are fundamentally stupid, says U.S. Democrat. Spain busts Ukrainians robbing refugee compatriots. I gotta have a drink. Woman euthanized on anniversary of murdering 5 kids. They were her kids. You know, and I got to thinking. I read the article and I got to thinking. It doesn't really make sense. I think really folks, judges more so, needs to look at these individual cases and ask themselves the question, what would be more punishment? The reason I bring this up is because after the woman got done killing her 5 kids, she tried killing herself. Okay? Now, mind you, this gets even worse. She didn't think she was going to be able to overpower the 14-year-old. So she convinced the 14-year-old one way or another to put on a blindfold for some reason. And after the 14-year-old put on the blindfold, I guess she hit her in the head with something to knock her out, and then stabbed her, or slashed her throat, or however that was. Well, then, the woman tried to kill herself. Apparently, she tried stabbing herself, slitting her own throat. She failed. And apparently she's the one that called 911. Well, I'm saying 911, but she's the one that called emergency services. So if I was to look at this case, what I would see, for whatever reason, suppose anytime a mother is willing to kill their own children, don't believe a damn word that comes out of their mouth. So I'm not even going to tell her story. But she clearly wanted to end her life after doing that. So why help her? And I understand this was years ago she did this and all that. But she wanted to go out then. Why not make her stay around and live with what she did? I don't know. I guess I just got big issues when it comes to harming kids. Fake cocaine AIDS record bust. Top U.S. general visits troops in Syria. Trump demands COVID reparations from China. I'll be glad when political season's over. I'm already tired of it. Because that's all this stuff is political grandstanding. It just gets old. And people fall for it every time. Let's see. Trump vows to end Ukraine conflict in 24 hours. Again, more grandstanding. Do I think he could do it? I would say there's a fair chance he could do it. As in, if he was like left alone to do it, would it happen? No. There's no way. If he made it back into office and if he tried to put an end to it, that ain't gonna happen because he isn't gonna be allowed to do anything. That's why, in my opinion, Trump really needs to be put out of people's minds for this next election because I can't see any good that could be done. So let's say we get him back in office. So you got another 4 years of nobody being able to do anything and all blaming each other. Why walk into that to begin with? I think that we need someone new, someone fresh. Not that I think that anything's going to make a difference, but it would be better off. I would rather see somebody like DeSantis or something get it. I just think that there's a lot more room for good to be done from someone like DeSantis than there would be from Trump. So, let's see. Colombia floats new plan to deal with cocaine hippos. I guess that's some way they're transporting it or something. I'm pretty sure there's not cracked out hippos. Governor assassinated during constituency meeting. Brazil greenlights GMO wheat. Russia to maintain high oil output, says J.P. Morgan. Another train derails in Ohio. Covered that and that. Chinese firms filling gaps left by Western brands, says Moscow. Let's see. Covered that. Iran makes pledge to UN nuclear watchdog. Germany warned of power cuts. China's economic... That's actually the first one in a while that I've heard worrying about power. I just find it awful interesting. You know, and we covered that stuff too, and I did. I thought that a lot more places, especially here in the U.S., were going to experience problems with their power this year. And it didn't happen on the level even remotely close to what I expected it on. You know, that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. But that's why I keep reminding people, it's like everything else. We're going to run out of diesel. We were going to run out of diesel exhaust fluid. We were going to run out of this, and we were going to run out of that. And it never happened. Never happened. The media has been leading people, including alternative media. They've been leading them around by the nose. And that I caught on to it. And that's why, like when all the stories about the train derailment in Ohio coming, and that's why I still don't jump all on it and this, that. There's some channels out there, that's all they talk about for the time being, because, I don't know, I haven't gone through all the chemicals that train had on it. I am sure there are some probably particularly nasty ones and some probably long-lasting ones. But the ones I looked at didn't have a half-life worth a damn. And they were supposed to be the more toxic of the chemicals. Now, I'm hearing about dioxin. Now, is this an issue? I don't know. Our area around here knows a little bit, and myself know a little bit about dioxin. What is it? Times Beach, I think, over there across the river. Times Beach, Missouri. Entire town, now a ghost town, because when they did the roads, I want to say they used creosote, I guess, in with the tar when they did the roads. Well, that created a dioxin problem. And they literally had to vacate the town, turn the town into a ghost town. In fact, there's was it Dazed and Confused or something? I don't know. I think it might have been Dazed and Confused. Believe it or not, I've never seen the movie, not interested in seeing the movie. I'm not dumb enough to see the movie. I think it was Dazed and Confused. Part of it was shot there or something like that, but don't quote me on that. It was one of those cult-style type of movies that that either part, I don't know if it's just a little part or a big part, I have no idea, but it was filmed there. Aside from that, my dad worked at a company. I better not name them. I don't want to get in any trouble. My dad worked for a company in Granite City, Illinois, and they eventually shut down. And I think a big part of the reason was because of the dioxin contamination of the facility, and they had to shut down. I don't know. I have no idea whatever happened to that site, if it ever got cleaned up. I have no idea any information on any of that. But I do know that that was one of the times put my dad looking for another job. So I do remember that pretty well. But yeah, he was with that company for quite a while. He was a supervisor, so he did that quite a bit in his life. Let's see. China's economic activity soars as demand recovers, says survey. Covered that. Ex-minister wanted to frighten Britons into COVID compliance, says leaked messages. Nah, I never once believed that. India's imports of Russian oil hit record highs, says media. North Korea asks UN to rein in U.S. actions. Russia's top nickel producer ditching dollar payments with China, says Bloomberg. Now, this is kind of an important thing. Nickel is actually a very important commodity. And there's a lot of nickel that gets sold and used in manufacturing, especially electronics manufacturing. And just this one thing alone is going to have huge reverberations throughout markets. So just keep your eye out. Let's see. Luxury car makers stall EU ban on combustion engines, says Bloomberg. China boosts defense spending. Oh, I covered that one. Police clash with protesters in Athens during train crash memorial. I didn't look into that. I was going to because I was trying to figure out why were they protesting there. Biden pressed Baltic leaders over Russia, says Wall Street Journal. NATO and EU states already parties to Ukraine conflict, says top Hungarian MP. Missed the MP. Jill Biden comments on mental competency test for elderly politicians. UK's supply of piped gas to EU is halted. UK PM to launch anti-asylum bill. Is Israel's national airline can't find pilots for PM's trip, says media. Asian countries reach agreement on World War II forced labor, says media. Covered that. Zelensky aide sees symbols of aggression in Louis Vuitton ad. I have no idea. U.S. suspects... Oh, I covered that. Netanyahu justifies strikes on nuclear facilities. And lastly, vocal Kiev supporter claims election victory. So that is it. Telling you, it's getting crazy. Just keep your eyes out as best you can on everything, and keep working towards being even more prepared. You know, it's crazy when I sit here, and I've been saying this over and over. I look at the different issues, and it's just not telling which one's going to reach out and smack us. And it's kind of crazy. So just keep getting ready, because when it happens, we're damn well going to know it. So Anyway, I am going to get out of here. God willing, I'll be back tomorrow, and we'll cover even more stuff. So, anyway, yeah, I know, Leola, it's been quiet. But, all right, folks, I am out of here. I will talk to you all tomorrow, hopefully. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit, and shalom.